While all visits carry weight, some are bigger than others, especially when you talk about the future of the Georgia program. And this weekend, Georgia got 2 prospects on campus that could end up defining their 2025 class, of course, if they end up landing them. Also, the dust has settled on 5-star Aiden Breeland's most recent visit to Athens. Has the visit high worn off, or are the Dogs still sitting in that pole position? UGA fans, do me a favor right now. Subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. We love your passion for Dogs recruiting, and that's why we got you covered. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button for me. All right, there were 2 prospects on campus that we got to talk about. 6'6", 275-pound offensive tackle Jalen Matthews. He's the number 7 ranked offensive tackle in the 25 class. Big-time prospect from New Jersey who decommitted from Penn State 2 weeks ago. The other one is running back Donovan Johnson at IMG Academy down there in Florida. He goes 6'1", 210 pounds, the number 3 ranked back by On3 in the 2025 class. Georgia is working ahead to make sure that 2025 class is also number 1. So let's bring on Jake Rowe from Dawgs HQ. Jake, the On3 industry rankings call Matthews the nation's number 62 prospect overall. All 4 services have him rated as a top 100 player overall. What does it mean to you that Matthews' first visit off that decommit from Penn State was to Georgia?
I think it's really big, and the name that's going to come up here is the name that comes up with all of those prospects up in the Northeast is Fran Brown. Former Rutgers assistant, but worked at Temple there with Matt Rule as well. He is an ace recruiter up there. It doesn't matter what position they play. Georgia's got a couple of kids from New Jersey committed in this 2024 class, and Fran Brown played a big role with those guys. They're offensive tackle and a defensive tackle. So he has played a massive role in that recruitment. And listen, when he decommitted from Penn State, the immediate thought there was that Georgia was going to be a major contender. Then Georgia gets him on campus for the UAB game. First of all, listen, that's a night game, so it makes the trip a little bit easier, but it's UAB. It's not like it was like an easy sell, to get him on campus for a marquee, SEC matchup. So it's pretty clear that he has a ton of interest in Georgia. I think Georgia has to be considered the favorite right now in the recruiting prediction machine over at On3 seems to agree.
Man, Fran Brown has UGA just in a position where they're just going to that honey hole over there in Jersey and just picking out whoever they want. All right, let's move on to Donovan Johnson. Now, he has been showing some interest, but not to Georgia, really. It's been Tennessee and Alabama. Is this a name that Dog fans need to get to know?
Listen, he's from the state of Georgia. He's from Savannah.
Right.
I'm told there's some I don't want to say relationship, but there's some familiarity there with like Nolan Smith and some other stuff there in the Savannah area. Georgia's got Warren Brinson on campus. That area hasn't exactly been a hotbed for talent, and when it is, it ends up at IMG, just like Donovan. So, listen, I think Georgia's going to have a shot here. They brought in a really, really formidable class in the 2024 class with Nate Frazier, with Chauncey Bowens, with Dwight Phillips. So they've loaded up. Now, does that mean that they're going to not be able to get Donovan Johnson? I don't really know. But I will say this: getting him on campus for that visit, again, Josh, you're familiar with the area. IMG is not very close to Athens. Not as far as a day trip goes.
No.
So getting him to kind of come up and visit and be a part of that, I think, is a huge bonus for Georgia. And Del McGee's a big-time recruiter as well. Went out to the West Coast. He's went to the state of Florida in this class to get some guys. I don't think you can count him out.
Yeah, and he's a big back. He goes almost 210 pounds. So we'll see what happens with his recruitment, but that was intriguing that he was on campus. All right, the next prospect that we're going to talk about was not on campus this weekend, but he was on campus last weekend. That's 5-star defensive lineman Aiden Breeland out of California. He's down to 3 schools. It's Miami, Georgia, and Oregon. Now that the visit has kind of, the dust has settled on the trip, maybe some of that visit high's worn off. Jake Rowe, what are your sources saying right now in terms of which of those 3 teams is the biggest competition for Georgia?
Right now, I think it's Oregon. I don't think you can ever count Miami out. The U brand, they've got a lot of things going for them down there with Mario Cristobal. He is a phenomenal recruiter. You cannot count Miami out. But right now, I believe it is a Georgia-Oregon battle. I would give Georgia the edge, and I don't think it's like a tiny edge either. I think Georgia's got pretty clear edge coming off of this visit. Now, does that hold up over the long term? Is he going to visit Oregon at some point? Georgia was able to get him. Not only was Georgia able to get him on campus, but they were able to get him. They were able to lock up that bye week for Mater Dei. Okay, right. And what the significance there is, if he does as we think he will, as sources seem to indicate that he will, it looks like that might be his last visit. And if it is, that's big time advantage Georgia. Now, Dan Lanning's a great recruiter. He's got some, it's funny. There's a lot of kind of Alabama, Georgia coaching tree guys right here with Kirby Smart, Mario Cristobal, Dan Lanning kind of going at it. All three of those guys know how to recruit. All three of those guys understand the game really well. I like Georgia's chances right now, and I think that visit went extremely well. We'll see, kind of when he makes a decision and if what we're hearing is right on that.
Yeah. What are you hearing in terms of a decision? Because Aiden Breeland himself has not said anything in terms of a decision date or even alluded to when he'll decide. Do you think he's going to take this thing the distance and we're going to go to December signing day, or do you think that there's a chance that he could end it early?
It doesn't sound like it's going to go the distance right now. It's got the vibe of one. Based on what you're hearing, the buzz you're catching on to, that it might be over before November, before we get to November. Now, I mean, it's tough to say that because again, Aiden Breeland could call you up today and say, "Hey, I've got a decision coming in 2 weeks," and you're still sitting there like, "All right, well, we'll see," because you never know what coach is going to get him on the phone. Kind of tell him something he needs to hear, tell him something he wants to hear, and he's going to postpone it. So right now, I mean, I would say based on what we're hearing, it'll be over before November. But, you never know. It's just one of those things you can just kind of take on a life of its own.
Yeah. Well, Dawgs' defensive line recruiting has taken shape. I'm glad we could also hit on some of those 2025 names that were on campus. Some more big visit weekends ahead, so stay locked with Dawgs HQ. Jake Rowe, thank you for taking some time to stop by the Inside Scoop today.
You got it, bud.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed that content, be sure to subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. We have a new page dedicated only to recruiting. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now.